Brand Experience webinar. I'm Lena Casey, Editor-in-Chief of Welcome to a Brand Experience webinar. I'm Lena Casey, Editor-in-Chief of Brand Experience magazine. Today we are joined by three branding and design experts who will explore the impact of organizational and space design on companies and their teams. And this educational webinar is free for registered attendees, thanks to our sponsors, Digimarc, HP, PrintPack, and WestRock. Our first speaker is Lisa Cody, Vice President of Marketing at TwinStar International. Prior to joining TwinStar, Lisa held several influential roles at the Vice President, Director, and Manager level, working with some of the most recognizable brands in the world, including Black & Decker, Crock-Pot, and Mr. Coffee. Welcome, Lisa.
During this webinar, I'll share some thoughts on how my team maintains creative energy and soul while orbiting the corporate environment in which we live. TwinStar International is a home furnishings and electric fireplace company based in Delray Beach, Florida. We have teams in the United States and China, and we design, manufacture, and market home furnishings and electric fireplaces that our consumers can purchase at brick and mortar and online through furniture dealers, mass, and pureplay.com such as Wayfair and Amazon. I have the pleasure of leading marketing, which includes an in-house creative department with people in the U.S. and China. We develop packaging, collateral, digital merchandising, web, video, and creative solutions for several brands and categories, and we support many internal clients. There's no doubt about it, we live in a hairball. Years ago, when I first dipped my toe into leading an internal creative team, my leader at the time handed me a book that would become my Bible. It was called Orbiting the Giant Hairball and was written by Gordon McKenzie. Gordon was at Hallmark for 30 years, and he spent many of those years inspiring his team to navigate the bonds of a very corporate environment and rise to orbit, to be creative above and beyond the rubber stamp confines that existed at Hallmark, but all the while remaining connected to the spirit of the corporate mission. This book became required reading for anyone who joined my team in the future. Today, my job is to help my team maintain orbit around our hairball at TwinStar. And in my world, that translates into orbiting around different points of view, herd wisdom, many stakeholders and decision makers, too much process or not enough, too much input or not enough, and pressures from retailers and the board. For us, orbiting starts with context. In order to be successful at whatever you do, it's critical to know the context in which you exist. Everything we do needs to relate back to the context of our environment, which is a consumer products company held by private equity. We sell furniture and electric fireplaces to Middle America. Our job isn't to win design awards for our packaging or POP. Our job is to help drive growth in our company and sell our products and ideally improve the lives of our consumers. We use our creative superpowers to make that happen. Some people would scratch their heads at this point and wonder how it's possible to be creative in that type of context. Well, we're creative thinkers, and we know our jobs aren't just about design. It's also about solving problems. And in order to do so, you need to be able to navigate the culture and operate within the business context of your environment. It's about constantly balancing and aligning and finding your way. It's about finding the special spot between the layers of what Gordon called the institutional mass. We're successful in our navigation through listening, translating business requirements into creative solutions, bringing the right people together, thinking like problem solvers, having process, making sure perception is positive, exercising influence, and reinventing ourselves over and over again. It starts for us with having a place to call home within the hairball. You know when you've entered our department because we carved out a space, turned down the lights. We took down the walls so the designers could see one another and communicate and have chance encounters. It fosters an environment of collaboration. We put a table in the center of the department to provide a more informal, intimate setting for meetings with clients. Booking conference rooms is a hairball in and of itself. However, when you have a table in the center of the department, you just walk over and sit down and meet. Simple. In addition to being an impromptu meeting place for clients, something else happened with the table. Breakfast started appearing, and baked goods, and snacks, and our team started sitting together for lunch. And then they started having guests from other departments. It has become a gathering spot, and part of our territory. As an in-house creative department, we always run the risk of being perceived as having stale creative. Anyone who has worked in-house knows what I'm talking about. We keep things fresh by balancing the mix of talent, including full-time people, contractors, and agencies. Sometimes the mix is driven by workload and turnaround times, and sometimes it's scope. We know when to go outside for fresh perspective. This was not an easy concept for some of the creative team to digest at first, but we're transparent about what we're doing and set expectations to let people know when things are temporary. What we're doing is building a creative network that we tap into. This approach really does help things keep fresh. Another thing we do to mix things up is to have design blitzes. For example, we were hitting a stone wall on coming up with some POP concepts to highlight a new feature on one of our products. One of our seasoned designers came up with some safe concepts, but they weren't breakthrough enough. He was hitting a wall, and sometimes that happens. In this case, we needed to stir things up, so we opened up the project to many people on the team to come up with ideas. This wasn't just for designers, it was for production artists as well. This approach was win-win because we ultimately got to where we needed to be with a great concept. But in addition, it offered everyone, including people who typically don't work on design projects, a chance to flex their creative muscle. In the end, we came up with a winner. Every project starts with a brief, and the most important element on the brief is the objective. What should the creative achieve? We don't put pencil to paper or mouse to pad without understanding who we're talking to, what we know about them, and what the problem we're trying to solve is, and most importantly, a clear articulation of how is someone supposed to feel or react upon interacting with the creative. In other words, what are we hoping our consumers will feel or believe when they see our packaging or watch our video or read the POP? The brief isn't intended to map out the creative execution. In fact, we often ask our clients to show us the canyon and we'll build the bridge. In order to understand things from the business perspective, we have an intense focus on understanding who our consumers are beyond demographics. We invest in research and are pretty disciplined about making sure everyone spends time digging into the data. Everyone on the creative team knows who our consumer segments are and what makes them tick. This takes time, but it's critical to developing relevant creative solutions. We take it a step further and also make efforts to get out of the cube and into our consumers' world, which in many cases is at the shelf in store. We begin most creative assignments by visiting where our consumers will engage with our creative to get the lay of the land. We've learned a lot from this, and we've made a lot of mistakes and learned from those as well. It's not just at shelf and brick and mortar either. We also troll the digital shelf to see what our consumers are experiencing from the imagery, the copy, and even down to the reviews. If you're successful at promoting your work, recognition will come. It's important to recognize people's efforts and make a point of letting the team know how their contributions impact the business. Sharing the impact keeps people motivated. We receive a lot of thank yous from our clients, and that definitely makes the team feel appreciated and inspires them and keeps them motivated. What I try to do is get specific with our clients to find out the real impact of the work. So it's not unlikely to receive an email from me as a follow-up asking, hey, how did that meeting go? What were the results? A great way to share recognition is to give the designers face time with clients so they can hear it directly. It's really, really great so that you eliminate some of the middle people. And so whether they're getting time to hear the thank you directly or hear the input or the feedback directly, it's really much better when it's face-to-face. It also provides people a chance to work on their presentation skills, which are critical in the context of our environment. I encourage people to learn new things any way they can. Anyone on my team will tell you the answer to, can I attend this workshop, or can I order this book, or can we get this magazine, is usually yes. I can't send everyone to a HOW conference or to conferences that are huge, so we get really scrappy about finding ways to learn, including sending one person and having them do a download to the rest of the team, or lunch and learns with things like Pantone Color Trend webinars, or lynda.com, or even seminars like this one that we're doing right now. I also encourage cross-training. As digital media and video continue to explode, we need to evolve our skill set internally at TwinStar. So we're in the process now of cross-training people by pairing up full-time people, and we also learn a lot from our contractors and the agencies that we partner with. And last, but definitely not least, is fun. There are a lot of moving parts in a hairball. Our team works really, really hard, and they do a phenomenal job at a constant grind. I can't control the last-minute requests, and we don't get to pick and choose what we work on. So it's really important to monitor the pulse of morale and keep it positive. Breaking the monotony and blowing off steam is part of our official process. So when you put a room full of creative people together, they're bound to have some type of fun, and my team does. I just try to make sure it happens on a regular basis. So whether it's grabbing everybody for a quick drink after work, just a quick catch-up, or an international potluck, or bowling, or off-site team building, it's important to have more, not less, fun. So now you've had an insider's look into how we orbit the hairball and maintain our level of creativity. So to recap the key success factors that help us stay creative at TwinStar, we know the context in which we exist. We marked our territory and created an identity for the team. We balance our talent mix with the full-time contract and agency talent. Every project begins with a brief. We have a deep understanding of our consumer and research where they will engage with our creative. Recognition is built into our culture, as is learning. And finally, we work hard, but we have fun. I hope you found some of these nuggets helpful. Thanks so much for watching and listening.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next speaker is John Denham, who has held several influential roles in the spheres of innovation, design, and marketing, including Vice President of Disruptive Innovation and Design at Conagra Foods, Vice President of Design and Innovation at Kraft Foods, Design Director at Procter Gamble, Design Manager for Europe for Procter Gamble, and Design Manager at Evans Medical. The mic's all yours, John.
Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about Culture of King, Episode 1. This is a study that I co-authored with Rachel Caberon back in 2012, and since then we've been working with this and developing the thinking and experiencing how it works in our careers. So, from background, innovation remains high on the CEO agenda, as growth continues to be a challenge in some categories. Yet in a recent survey, 1 out of 2 top managers said they were unimpressed by returns on their innovation-focused investments. In recent times, data from the food and beverage industry indicates that growth is tough. So we are led to wonder, can innovation be optimized and built into the culture to increase its returns? Innovation and cultural change are daunting tasks, and the associated risks leave most well-intentioned and dedicated of organizations on the precipice of change, filled with doubt and unable to move. Using a technique we call frame stretching, an organization can move past their doubts. The process connects them to a familiar story, such as the legend of Robin Hood, which we'll talk about today, where the lessons and the obstacles are parallel to the challenges the organization currently faces. When they swap their current frame for the framework of a story, individuals feel freer to reimagine the potential of their organization and the current situation. By itself, frame stretching using story leverages the power of myth and metaphor to increase the individual's confidence and ultimately their performance. What if frame stretching were practiced with purpose, specifically helping an organization to focus on their more daunting challenges? After identifying 4 salient features of innovation cultures, we wondered how at little risk we could optimally accelerate and integrate innovation into the organization without taking on the larger task of cultural change. Learning and reflection is both a necessary and natural mechanism individuals use to overcome adversity, irrespective of their cultural norms, and it quickly became the inspiration for a simple solution. By actively connecting the possibilities realized from one legend to a modern-day cause, makes it easy for individuals to understand an opportunity and examine each of the 4 salient features. It also permits demonstration of the utility of the approach, and we hope encourage the development of insights into how any organization seeking to innovate can. Welcome to Frame Stretching, pairing the legend of Robin Hood with organizational cases, in an exploration to optimize and build innovation into your culture and increase returns following 4 lessons focused on management, environment, talent, and process. Lesson 1, Leadership versus New Management. Robin Hood, aka Robin of Locksley, was a nobleman and supporter of King Richard the Lionheart. Robin's consistent loyalty and support for the king strengthened and built the reputation for his personal brand and that of England. This attracted further talent and loyalty to both King Richard and Robin of Locksley brands. Having established credibility in England, King Richard shifted focus to crusades in foreign lands, leaving England under the despotic control of Richard's brother, Prince John. Upon Robin's return, his lands had been confiscated, and he was branded an outlaw, and simultaneously a catalyst for innovation, advocating a return to values espoused by King Richard. As a cautionary lesson in leadership, King Richard's shift in focus led him to forsake maintaining the values at home that drew talent and loyalty to build England and its prosperity. While this was indeed a move toward trying new things, innovation, if you will, his kingdom ultimately fell into disrepute, born of high taxation, slavery, and oppression under Prince John. This engendered disloyalty in the ranks, rebellion against the crown, the larger brand of England, and diminished the value of resources and support at home. If we look at a more modern-day example, Procter Gamble in the late 1990s, this had a paralleled experience when it shifted its emphasis away from innovating on classic brands such as Tide and Pampers to launch new brands. While some of their new brands were successful, notably Swiffer and Febreze, the reduced emphasis on innovating the classic brands caused loyal consumers to abandon the company's products. The ongoing commitment to innovation across Tide and Pampers had a lower priority, and the customers reacted accordingly. More recently, in 2012, ConAgra acquired Ralcorp in a bid to strengthen their leverage with customers and grow the business. The acquisition made ConAgra the largest private brand food manufacturer in the US and divided the portfolio between consumer, private, and food service brands roughly equally. However, after 3 years, ConAgra announced the sale of private brands business to Treehouse in 2015. Forbes wrote, "The transaction will enable ConAgra to sharpen their focus and resources on consumer and commercial foods, and will drive sustainable growth and enhance shareholder returns." The sale, however, was for $2 billion less than it paid 3 years earlier. Continuing this theme of leadership and focus, ConAgra further spun off Lamb Weston as a major part of the food service business in 2016. This transaction further confirmed its commitment to organic and acquisitive growth opportunities within the branded food space. Leadership's commitment to innovation must pervade the organization, not merely emphasize new areas as the means to create growth. Even the most stable and sturdy of brands and their caretaking managers need to continually foster innovation, for its absence can undermine the stability and once bankable performance the organization depends on, potentially destabilizing a wider brand. Lesson 2. The environment. Back to Robin Hood. Upon his return from the Crusades, he faced a radically changed political environment. His lands, now seized, forced him to relocate to Sherwood Forest. The forest provided a safe environment, food, and a community for an increasing number of scofflaws in search of refuge. The resultant community shared an earlier vision, values espoused by King Richard: camaraderie, equality, and a host of other unexpected attributes that came to define their lives. Unwittingly, the circumstances allowed something else to flourish, a marketplace of news and ideas that quickly spread the discovery of new opportunities and hope through the community. If we fast forward to the current day, Josh Hanley, VP of Industrial Design at the manufacturer Method, has attributed his company's ability to out-innovate giant competitors by ordering in design. Specifically, Hanley took a page out of Robin Hood's playbook and situated his design teams in the midst of the brand, operations, product development, and the sales departments. Their forest of 120 feet of floor-to-ceiling whiteboards, known as wiki walls, incited open, cross-disciplinary commentary. Initially, designers and then others displayed their work on the walls and facilitated rapid iteration, fueled consensus across stakeholders, and accelerated decision-making. Informal groups began assembling in the forest to discuss, tweak, and build new ideas. The result of the informal interactions produced better ideas and results while spawning an innovative culture. Take advantage of natural casual settings where multiple functions engage socially to openly post work in progress and invite commentary. Subtle transformations of your environment to extend the natural interactions opens opportunity, cross-fertilizes ideas, and ultimately spawns innovation. Lesson 3. Talent. When Robin Hood retreated to the forest, circumstances did not afford him the luxury of recruiting optimal talent for his new venture. What he got was a group of Saxons who were oppressed by Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham, seeking out shelter and protection. Yet before long, Robin and his band were adapting to the new physical environment and chalking up successes in their battle with the corrupt establishment. Most of us attribute their successes and innovations to the leadership of Robin Hood, but in fact a variety of figures with diverse talents, Friar Tuck, Little John, Alan the Dale, and Maid Marian, were some of the players who collaborated to surface opportunities and constantly extend limited resources in unusual ways. In isolation, these individuals with specialized skill sets were effective, yet together, sharing the values of a community and the vision of possibilities, Robin Hood, inspired by example, made them capable of survival and ultimately innovative opportunism. In Tim Brown's book, Change by Design, he cites the ability to weave together multiple skill sets and perspectives, focus on shared ideas, joint ownership, and common responsibility as key to turning ideas into actual new products. However big or small the organization, the chance that one person, discipline, or department will be able to successfully deliver an innovative new experience is slim to none. The complexity of marketing and production only increases, whilst the timetable delivery decreases. A focus on a vision and a mission jointly shared helps new partnerships form, successfully leverage a natural diversity of experiences, skills, and abilities, whilst also ensuring key capabilities are represented and untested assumptions discarded. Many branders and manufacturing companies such as P&G, Intuit, Method, and others actively bring together multiple skills and diverse talents into teams to share knowledge and experience. Together they learn from insights that foster formal and informal collaboration and develop a stronger culture of internal innovation. Lesson 3. When it comes to talent, the lessons we learn are about leveraging naturally diverse experiences, curiosity, skills, and abilities can ensure that key capabilities necessary for innovation are represented. However, focusing on shared mission and values will further successful working partnerships capable of discarding untested assumptions and innovation. Lesson 4. Process. In a seemingly amorphous set of activities associated with innovation, the idea of process would seem to stultify the open exchange of ideas that characterizes such development. Innovation processes, however, do exist and can infuse a company's culture with useful structure and tools to guide various skills and experience levels. Innovation processes can lead to perpetual thinking within a self-organized approach to address both opportunities and new challenges as they arise. Given the monstrous task of fighting Prince John's army, Robin knew that to engage the enemy in a conventional combat would prove futile. Instead, Robin assessed his opponent's strengths and weaknesses, as well as those within his own camp. He identified the incumbent's weaknesses and developed alternative methods of warfare that played to the Saxons' strengths and nimbleness, elements of surprise, and more flexible weaponry. These techniques were disseminated through the ranks, enabling Robin's men to adapt, gain new skills, and ultimately prevail over the more powerful Prince John. Among the strengths that Robin challenged was structure that is frequently associated with process. These elements in the story, however, differentiate two important aspects of process that ultimately delivered Robin his success: transparency, and sufficiency. The tightly knit environment of Sherwood simplified communication, and the resultant transparency enabled a wider, keener understanding of action plans. What needed doing, by whom, with what and when, and who were the right owners of the decisions. The open environment and overall culture that permeated Robin's camp enabled clear assignments, simplifying coordination and creating consistency and commitment. In contrast, modern corporate complexity typically consists of competing functional priorities that often cloud the bigger picture and impede concerted collaborative efforts. A company imagining their own action plan by envisioning the approach made possible in Sherwood Forest can lay out all requirements openly and at once in a risk-free exercise. Using the common language of the story, participants can reference and play out ownership and assignment of appropriate tasks, work through the wider codependencies, fill in the picture of a shared vision, and ultimately energize and engage cross-organizational interaction. Story participants who play in it are better prepared, and when the unexpected arises, have an exercise, new resources, connections, and imagination at their disposal to push through the inevitable surprises. Furthermore, frame stretching can quickly establish points of consistency to which individuals can relate, openly challenge assumptions, and in full view set precedents for collaboration and thus avert the sideline dialogues and negotiations that distract project processes and curtail innovation. The sufficiency aspect of process entails the specific rigor and discipline necessary to ensure the organization's superior performance. Living in Sherwood Forest necessitated different survival skills and required teams to work efficiently and later respond in a more innovative manner. Likewise, the modern organization must stretch their existing functional knowledge, imagine a plan that will meet the immediate and future challenges the organization faces. The cross-disciplinary use of shared external story quickly advances thinking about future possibilities and helps us assess present and future opportunities and resource mix requirements. Only by developing a process possible mindset that creates a pipeline of resources generated through close cross-functional collaboration can an organization hope to continue meeting the challenges of the changing marketplace. Realizing a culture of innovation. The team used the concepts outlined in this article to develop a new brand launch from marketing, new product formulation, revamped brand identity, structural packaging, and broader consumer communication touchpoints. The results exceeded forecasts by around 400%, which is not a frequently experienced outcome with new product launches in this day and age. Frame stretching helps organizations realize innovation by addressing 4 key cultural elements: its management and their leadership, physical environments, its talent base, and finally its processes. Frame stretching with attention to these factors suffuses every individual's daily life and thoughts with motivations and guidance to steer them to a collaborative, cross-disciplinary mode of tackling change. The practices of frame stretching and self-organizing, a self-sustaining culture of generating and shepherding new solutions can address senior executives' desire to see more come from their investments in innovation.
Thank you, John. Our final speaker is another longtime friend, Christine Mao. Christine is Senior Brand Strategy Director at Medline Inc., and like John, has held several influential roles in the design and branding world, including Senior Director of Global Brand Design at Kimberly-Clark. Welcome, Christine.
Hello and welcome. My name is Christine Mao. I lead brand strategy and integrated marketing at Medline Industries. I wanted to share some lessons learned working for some of the world's biggest brands around the world with different cultures and across consumer as well as B2B corporations. In the Netflix design documentary Abstract, Paula Scher, who is a 30-year veteran of the design industry, said designing the logo is never the hard part of the job. Persuading people to use it is. So many of us can relate to that statement, And if we don't approach every project with that mindset, that 33% of our job is strategic and creative problem solving. Another 33% is beautifully executed design. And finally, the last 33% is stakeholder management and persuasion. We are unable to deliver at the level we are most proud of if we don't give equal weighting to each of those elements. I spent the first 15 years of my career trying to create great design. And at that time, design was called in at the very end stages, right before you went to market, and they were briefed by a client in a way that was very prescriptive. My mentor and coach, Eric Bartelt, instilled in me a deep sense that design without strategy was art, and we were being hired to deliver great design. But the clients didn't always make this possible, and I found it hugely frustrating when the client's feedback was something like, "I don't like this one," "I don't like orange," or "make my logo bigger." So I embarked on a journey to change perspectives and began my first design transformation at Kimberly-Clark with their global team, which took about 8 years to really get traction from the early adopters all the way through the trend adoption curve to the late followers. The next transformation I drove was in Europe and took about 18 months. The next, for business to business, took 6 months, and the timing continues to be compressed as I compile lessons learned along the way, which I want to share with you today. In this webinar, we will cover how to unleash a strategic design transformation and make it stick, beginning with making a plan, including activities, milestones, and success criteria for yourself. Applying the process that you're already expert at, and focusing not on design, but on driving a cultural shift with these 4 steps. Beginning with the end in mind, create a plan with activities designed to deliver specific learning goals for your clients, for your customers. Outlining the milestones for the transformation with the design department goal in mind. Something like 100% of the brand or the division's projects will follow the design thinking process and timeline by July 1st. You already have the tools and the expertise to do this. All you have to do is apply the design process that you use for your clients to create your cultural transformation project. In the discover phase, you're looking to fully understand the business problem of your organization or clients, as well as understand how they view and value design today. How do they engage with the department? What are their viewpoints? What is your relationship with them and them with you? In define, you tighten the brief on what you want to accomplish. You know where your starting point is now and how big the gap is to where you want this cultural transformation to get to. Every organization is unique, so the more you tailor your approach to this transformation that you want to drive based on their needs, the more effective you will be. In develop, you create meaningful experiences that will allow the team members to discover the power of leveraging design strategically themselves. In other words, the more you share with them, the more you allow them to see how the tools are and the principles that we use, the more they will be comfortable with giving you more room to explore. And finally, deliver. Because culture changes one person at a time, find that early adopter, propose a project you can lead that will deliver against one of their pain points, and execute that project with excellence. This is your pilot. This is something that you will share across the organization, and this is something that others will be watching and then wanting to participate in. The key to breakthrough design solutions is a cultural transformation, to embrace design thinking, which is about how we approach problems before we jump to solutions. Changing the organization's perspective on design to create an environment where design is leveraged is a growth-driving tool, and you can do this work by building relationships based on trust, respect, and empathy. And this goes both ways, so as much as you're trying to lead them, you're also learning about their business. So there's 4 parts to pulling this off. Define it, inspire it, enable it, and socialize it. So here we go. Defining the goal. Establish this as a team project from day one so that this is something everyone is creating together instead of something that is happening to them. Let them know why you're here at the company, what you're charged to do, but then make sure that you're interviewing them in a way that they feel like they are helping to shape the journey, that they're shaping the milestones, and they're helping you identify the projects or the areas where design could actually be leveraged to have a bigger impact than it may have historically. By interviewing them, you help them feel heard, they feel included, and most importantly, they feel invested. And the more they feel invested in this process, the more they're going to want this to succeed as much as you do. Now that you have a better understanding of what your clients want to accomplish and what the business goals are, you can frame a vision that will inspire them. Much like the Cirque du Soleil transformed the old animal circus with rocketing costs, declining attendance, and increased concerns from the public about animal welfare into a show that would spark the imagination and ignite all the senses, bringing the crowds back. This is what you need to do for your clients. What is that compelling future? The one where they're achieving their business goals, that future state. Rally them, get them excited about that. And they often will tell you stories of, well, we can't do that because it's not possible. But they've never used or leveraged design as a strategic tool. So help them see that maybe some of these things that they thought were unachievable can be achievable. It's going to be really important that you help enable the team to achieve success and to participate. You can do this by sharing videos, creating workshops that are designed to build the team's design IQ, maybe on the physiology and psychology of color, maybe on user experience, the role of semiotics and heuristics in design, the role of scent in brand memory, etc., etc. So tailoring what you choose to share with them and to teach them, tailoring that to specific gaps or opportunities that make sense in the goals that they need to achieve the business goals. Since active play is how humans learn, you want to create a fun and interactive workshop, and this allows the team to apply and practice and analyze the steps and the information that they just learned and do so immediately before they leave the room. So the room should be filled with stimulus and tools for multidisciplinary team members to discover the power of design for themselves. Give them this firsthand experience to build new beliefs with the principles. Right now, they don't have any experiences where design was a strategic business-solving tool. And because they don't have any positive experiences themselves, they don't truly believe it or trust what you're saying. And this is why allowing them to feel it, to experience it themselves is really key to building that belief. Encourage them to make their own discoveries, and then recognize a few team members by asking them to share it with the room. Recognize the work that they have done. Collect it all as if it is very precious, because you will actually use this later in future presentations, and draw on the insights that you heard in this room. And finally, socializing your brand design transformation, just like a brand might do. Start by making it memorable, developing a brand for it, naming it, being relevant, being consistent, being recognizable, everything that you do for your clients. Use personal recognition and storytelling to relentlessly bridge that gap from the early adopters to the early majority, and create a plan that is detailed to do this. Make that plan visible and then stick with it. This is an illustrative example of a plan, and remember, every year has 365 days in it, 52 weeks, 12 months, 4 quarters. What are you doing that is going to keep this message alive and keep this transformation alive across the organization? Think about annual events that are inspirational, and it shows that you're aligned to a vision and their objectives. Build out quarterly events that build their design IQ. Maybe give them monthly updates, newsletters, tell them what's coming, what is design doing next. Celebrate big milestones. Recognize someone who went out of their comfort zone and tried something new. Weekly, you might have social media posts within your internal Facebook groups or Yammer and whatever you happen to use. Share articles, share stories, share books. Maybe you have a place in your office where you can put things up and share an internal newsletter. And then don't forget about daily recognition, peer-to-peer coaching, recognizing people. You did a great job. I know how difficult this was. How was your experience? Asking for feedback. What made sense in this project? What did you think didn't add value? And it's not that you're going to take those things out, but maybe there's a better way for you to communicate them so they see the value as much as you do. A champion advocates for the vision on a daily basis. They clear the path, they lead by example, They celebrate and recognize people along the way, and they constantly rework the plan in response to the culture as it moves through the adoption curve. You can do this! If you have a story to share or you wish to engage further, please reach out to me via email or LinkedIn, and I will see you at the Brand Experience Live Conference in February 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I'm also looking forward to seeing you at the Brand Experience Live Conference being held in southwestern coastal Florida on February 26th through 28th. Registration for this dynamic conference and its co-located workshop is now open at www.bxplive.com. Brand Experience Magazine's editorial staff thanks our esteemed panel of expert speakers for sharing their insights and expertise, and we would also like to thank you for sharing your time with us today. Finally, we would like to thank our sponsors, Digimarc, HP, PrintPack, and WestRock, without which these free webinars wouldn't be possible.